Put yourself in position to win big on Kentucky Derby Day with the power of daily racing form. Visit shop.drf.com and get past performances, expert picks, betting strategies, clock reports, and more. Again, that's shop.drf.com. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at Kentucky Derby Contender Hit Show, another runner from the Brad Cox barn. He's been loaded all year long with his 3-year-olds, and this horse is yet to take a backward step on the Beyer speed figure scale from 5 lifetime tries. He won the Withers 2 starts back, stretching out to 1 1/8 miles, and then he had another prep at that distance in the Wood Memorial. He was the beaten favorite in here, but I think he did some good things. He had a lousy post position, and while he wasn't really hung out wide, you see the winner here leaning on him, turning into the stretch. The pace heated up on the second turn. He was on a bit of a hard chase, and he's kind of game in this blanket finish to just miss finishing second.
He is pretty game here. He did have the far outside post to deal with. I thought all in all, the trip sort of worked out for him. But you saw there, Dan, at the top of the stretch, he was behind the horse who was eventually going to finish third. And when he pushed his way out to the clear, the winner was right there to his outside. So Hit Show was in tight all through the stretch there. I still thought he ran pretty well. Certainly had his chance to win that race. So I'm not going to give him a big excuse, but it's not like it was a terrible performance.
He earned a 91 when he won the Withers over Arctic Arrogance, who finished 4th in the Wood Memorial, earned a 93 when just missing in the Wood Memorial. He's got a lot of pedigree appeal. He's by the excellent stallion Candy Ride. The dam won the Black Eyed Susan, a grade 2 at 1 1/8 miles. The second dam won the Woodbine Oaks. And this horse is just flying under the radar. Maybe he hasn't faced the toughest competition, but he's acquitted himself well in just about each and every one of his starts. And from a stamina standpoint, with 2 9-furlong preps under his belt, he looks ready.
I think all those things are true, Dan. I don't think you're going to look at him on paper and say, well, he's one of the faster horses, or he's coming out of the toughest prep races, because he's not. But he's run well in every one of his starts so far. I really like the way that he began his career, because he's one of those horses who has shown that he can get a position in a race without being outrun early, and he still finishes really strongly in his races. That's a good thing going forward.
Now, the one and only time he was off the board was at Churchill Downs, a race in which he was the favorite, and he finished behind Rocket Can, who's also prepping for the Derby. But I think it's far too early to say that this horse just doesn't like the surface. I think there were some other circumstances that worked against him that day.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if you go back and watch that race too, Dan, I mean, it's right off of the maiden when, first of all, he was stretching out for the first time, and he just, for whatever reason, he just looked really, really green early in that race. He lost a lot of position. But he was running on at the end. It was way too late, and he was never a threat. But that performance isn't as bad as it looks on paper, and he's obviously gotten a lot better since then.
I'm very curious to see how tactics will play out for a horse like Hit Show. Of course, a lot is dependent on the break. In most of his races, he seems to prefer settling in mid-pack and making a strong run. I wonder if the pace will be a lot faster in the Derby than what he's used to, and he'll have to come from a lot further out of it.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of these horses are going to have to deal with. So far, his running style, I think, is one of the things that you really like about him, because he doesn't need to be part of the pace to be effective. He can sit somewhere off it without getting too far away. And again, he still finishes up really strongly in his races. He's not, I don't think you're going to look at him and say he's one of the leading Derby contenders this year, Dan, but this horse is pretty good. And I don't think he's overmatched going into the Derby.
He's well connected, he's well bred, it appears he's well prepared for this race, and he has a lot of upside potential. Now he just has to show a little bit of improvement in what will be the toughest race of his career, the Kentucky Derby. But Hit Show seems to be trending the right way, and he'll be a price under the Twin Spires at Churchill Downs.